Well, it's interesting that there is cross-party support for this proposal at City Hall, and we think it's very obvious that we could run the rail much more efficiently and with a lot more local accountability when things go wrong in London. One of the wider implications, though, is that for some of the services, they do stretch out into the counties alongside. Now, the next rail franchise that's up for renewal is the South Eastern franchise, and that goes off into Kent. And the Mayor has already once tried to make a bid to take control of that franchise. And interestingly, today we did question Kent County Council, and they said actually, provided their passengers, residents were protected and maybe we could help put the fares down, they would support such a proposal. So I think it was a very positive meeting.
So logistically, it would involve TfL workers going quite far out of London?
Well, we'd still be working with the private sector, but it's just that the contracting is completely different. You know, instead of the rail operator taking away the profit, the way it works is that Transport for London issue a contract and TfL keeps the profit and pours that back into improving the services. So there's a different commercial structure as well. It could well be one of the existing franchise companies that wins the contract, but they'd be under much, much tighter management and local control.
That is the issue, of course. It's not just a case of you just taking them all away. You have to wait for them to come up for renewal before anything happens.
Yes, I think so, because you know, doing it any other way would almost be like a mass nationalisation, and the compensation would be ridiculous. But actually picking off each rail franchise, and there are 9 in London now, in turn as they come up, allows you the time to do the technical work to make sure that the contract and the service specifications are right for that area, and you know, it's horses for courses. And I think if we started now on doing the work, designing what we want for a new South Eastern franchise, by 2018, when it's due to come up, we'd be in a really strong position to run a much better service.
Now, before then, of course, is the looming issue that looms over City Hall, the mayoral election next year. As someone who has run as a running mate of Ken Livingstone, what would you say that the qualities the next mayor will have to have?
Well, you know, I think the most important thing is that you've got to love London and be utterly dedicated to it and the people who live in London. I think it takes huge energy and stamina. And I do also think it's important to remember that it's a strategic London government. This is not about dabbling in the local detail. This is actually about looking at the big picture in London and seeing, you know, how to make London work better for Londoners in the future. And, you know, I feel that Boris Johnson has been, he's been entertaining, but he's not been effective in terms of improving life in London. We've not sorted out the environmental issues at all, and I do feel that the housing crisis could squarely land on the mayor's lap. So, you know, there's some big issues, and we need a strategic politician who thinks big and is brave.
Now, one of the people who's come into their hat today, throw the hat in the ring today, is Zach Goldsmith. He's been said as their leader of Haringey Council, said that he could be Labour's big threat. Do you see him as a big threat? Well, I think it's there's going to be a big battle here. This is really going to be a very heavily contested fight. I think Zach Goldsmith, people obviously see him as an attractive individual, but he's not actually run anything. And to come to running a city of 8.5 million people with no experience of making anything work, I think is a bit of an issue. And I also think, you know, London is different. We have a very strong affinity for Europe here, and we're very interested in, you know, our place in the global and the European economy. And I think, you know, the Goldsmith family tradition of being very anti-European would not play very well in London. It wouldn't be in our commercial interests to be hostile to Europe in that kind of way. So, you know, I think the competition is hotting up.